Alrighty, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 139 of RickCast, and I am happy that you are hanging out with me tonight. It's summer, so everybody is out and about. It's 4th of July week, which means many of you are heading on out and around. Good evening, Catholic Jedi. Glad to have you back with us tonight. I know. There is many a thing happening this weekend between what happened up in Idaho, which we will talk about. We're going to break that down. I'll give you my limited insight. I have a master's in Homeland Security, but that's about it. About as academic of a debrief as I can give you in that regard. Then we're going to try and get through as much of the big, beautiful bill as possible. I mean, the people in Congress don't even read it, so I don't know how any of us are expected to really break it down unless you use AI to just be like, give me the highlights of it. But I'm going to focus on that, and then I'm going to talk in particular about how the gun community, because I am a gun guy, how the gun community has been absolutely shafted by the Republicans again, and how gun owners may just have to sit out the midterms, because there's no point if you are a gun owner in really caring or voting Republican. They do nothing for you. They haven't done anything for you. They don't want you armed. The simple truth is they don't want you armed. They don't. It's 100%. They don't want you to have guns. Even the most pro-gun guys, in the back of their minds, because they're politicians, they don't want you to have them. They want to strip you of your God-given right to keep and bear arms. And that's why it seems like they always seem to work in tandem with the Democrats. We'll talk about that a little bit more when we get into the big, beautiful bill nonsense. Interesting article about YouTube raising the minimum age to actually live stream and broadcast. Just want to talk about that real quick during the show, because it's just one of these things that as more people find it harder to get employment, you're right, 100%. And that's the whole point of the militia amendment, and it's the whole point of the 44 state constitutions that have some kind of right to keep and bear arms in their state constitution, is that they are they will not be walked on. That they will not be walked on. So it is what it is in that regard. And yeah, so we'll talk about that as well. And back to the YouTube thing, as more people struggle to find work, they're going to start trying to, I've said multiple times, YouTube and podcasting is to men what OnlyFans is to women. The dream idea that you're going to set up a camera and then all of a sudden you're going to get a gazillion subscribers and make these millions of dollars that Tim Cast and, Quartering doesn't do as well, but he does well. And even, WDW Pro and Valiant Renegade and these, every niche has this group of like 5 or 6 really successful, top of the heap kind of people, right? The Critical Drinker and his crew. And then there's everybody else, right? And so more people are going to try and try to do whatever they can. And that includes, younger and younger kids trying to just, get out and do those kinds of things. So I think it's a good idea to restrict their access to it, because there's a lot of perverts on YouTube, in case you didn't know. Breaking news here. There are indeed many a pervert there. Also, finally, we're going to talk about F1. In case you didn't see it, you can go to RickCast Reviews. My review is on there. And it did well. It did really well this weekend. And it's one of the few movies I would recommend you going out and spending your money on at the box office, because it is a good film. And films like this need to be rewarded. Like Joe Kosinski needs to be rewarded. He's the director, in my opinion. He's up there with Nolan and Villeneuve. If you put Joseph Kosinski on a poster now, he's got Top Gun, Maverick, and F1. That's going to get butts in seats, because people actually respect and enjoy the type of films. I actually have to take my wife next weekend to go see F1, because she wanted to go see it. Because there's a lot of engineering stuff, and my wife's an industrial engineer, so she kind of digs all that kind of stuff. So we will go be seeing said thing next weekend, which is fine because I enjoyed it and I'll go see it again. Of course, I'm going to go see Jurassic Slop on Wednesday so I can get a review up for you guys on Wednesday. So that way you can find out how terrible that film is as well. So it just this is also the last day of June, which I don't know about you, but June's been a heck of a month. It's really been a heck of a month. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't know it was gonna be as intense as it was gonna be. I don't know if you thought it was gonna be this intense. We thought it was gonna be intense because it's gonna be the pushback against Pride, obviously to promote the Sacred Heart. But the idea that it was gonna be like bombing Iran and doing this and doing that, and then you had all these other kinds of things and so forth. So I, for one, am kind of glad June is over. Obviously not because part of me loves the devotion to the Sacred Heart, but part of me is just like, can we get the hell out of this month, please, and just move on to the next one? Yeah. Catholic Jedi, I assume you're like me, and Jurassic Park 3, the third one in the original trilogy, was your least favorite because of the way they did dirty my T-Rex. I'm a huge T-Rex fan as well. As a man with short arms, I feel for the T-Rex. And so, the fact that they did going on, Dean, it's great to see you, bud. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thank you for taking the time to come hang out with us. Yeah, 3 was terrible because the Spinosaurus or whatever the crap that thing was called, they just took out the T-Rex. I'm like, what are you doing? 3 doesn't exist. It's dead to me. So we'll see how Jurassic Slop does on this one. It's already getting panned. Everybody who's seen it hates it, which is crazy because everybody kind of projected that one to win the month of July, right? Jurassic Park, Superman, Fantastic Four, and it still may be that way. It still may be that way because Jurassic Park or Jurassic World or Jurassic whatever the nuts it's called at this point is not made for you and me. It's made for kids. They've always been made for kids. Kids go out, they buy the toys, they like the dinosaurs, all that kind of stuff. So they're the ones that the film is actually aimed for. You a Velociraptor guy. Okay, I got that. All right. I like it. And they're not aimed at us. I mean, the first one, Spielberg's first one was, but Spielberg's movies are always aimed at kids. You can take that for whatever double entendre you want it to be. So there is that. Hey, now, Lou, how do you do? Thank you for hanging out with us. Good evening. Great to see you. Thank you for being here. I know it's not. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you being here now, everybody. Thank you. As the bar rats start to kind of crawl in, you guys are bar crawling all the way over. So good evening. And yeah, so I will see Jurassic Slop 3 for, I don't even know. It's World Park, whatever. New dinosaur movie. And then after that, it'll be Sweeperman. And then after that, it'll be Fantastic Four. And then the summer season's over, and box office people are just like, this is terrible, which it is. So we will get to all of that and more. And more. So do me a favor, folks. Hit that like, subscribe, share, notification bell. All those fun things helps the show grow as much as possible. Growth is impossible in the summer months. I appreciate everybody that's watching, but if you're trying to gauge your show, your platform in the summer months, you got another thing coming because it's even with June being as crazy as it was, it's still tough to kind of gain or put a foothold in. But we're here anyway, and you can say the chalkboard will come back tomorrow. It's the third time I point it. I'll point to it as much as possible. Chalkboard will be back tomorrow because it'll be July 1st. The Sacred Heart will go back up over the altar. I have a home altar over here that I will put it back over that. And then the chalkboard will come in. I got a brand new teaser for you guys. So since we can't use the Sacred Heart, we can, but it's not as contemporary as it would be now. So we have all that. Anyway, let's get to it, ladies and gentlemen. First, we want to thank And since it's the last day of the month and I haven't been doing it as consistently as I should, because, one thing or another, let us thank an unofficial official sponsor of the program, not a sponsor, by the way. That would be tradflag.com. Tradflag.com, great company, great Catholic company. And we want to support them as much as possible. They have monthly flags, specialty flags, magnets, trad mugs, bundles, garden flags, Marian flags, and more. So check them out. Tradflags.com. Tradflags.com. I don't, there's no promo code. I can't help you out with any of that stuff, but they probably don't even know my channel exists. But if they haven't asked me to stop using their picture or their product. So go support them if you have not, or if you'd like, you can get next month's flag, which is for the precious blood of our Lord and Savior. Right there. Isn't that a gorgeous looking flag, ladies and gentlemen? Gorgeous looking flag. You can grab it at tradflags.com. Tradflags.com. Great company. And you can support them. Once again, not a sponsor of the program, but I've been using their product in my intros, so I figured I at least toss them some advertisement to hopefully get you guys over to go there. Anyway, so let's see, ladies and gentlemen, we got a couple of warm-up stories while people are kind of still sauntering in on this beautiful Monday night. All right. So, Supreme Court refuses American Airlines bid to validate JetBlue alliance. So, what this means is essentially a lower court found the partnership violated antitrust law. Lawsuit was brought during the Biden regime. I am actually okay with this. Because we don't have enough options anyway. And if one thing we can all agree on, maybe we don't, let me know in the comment section down below, that we can agree on is the mergers of airlines has destroyed airline travel. Airline travel was better when you had more options. Hubs, there were more hubs and things like that. Now that we have consolidated down to a very few, prices are still okay. Service is terrible. We're all getting shoved around into like Nashville, or if you really want to live dangerously, you fly into Charlotte on a connecting flight. And there's a reason why after a while I just started driving into Charlotte, because I didn't like flying into Charlotte because that airport claims it's an international airport, but it is not an international airport, and so it's misery. So I'm actually okay with this. So SCOTUS rejected a Monday request by American Airlines to overturn a judicial decision that found the company's now scrapped U.S. Northeast partnership with JetBlue violated federal antitrust law. Justice turned away an appeal by American Airlines of a lower court's decision in a lawsuit brought by the U.S. Justice Department that held the end of the proposed Northeast Alliance, which will allow two carriers to coordinate flights and pool revenue. Listen, JetBlue is not bad. Yeah. I mean, Southwest absolutely destroyed its business model. The problem with Southwest is Southwest has a problem because the new planes that are coming out from Boeing, they got rid of the class, whatever the one that Southwest has been using. The new planes are either too small, so they can't have as many people for the flights they use, or too big and they can't fill them. So Southwest might actually not exist within 5 years. Plus, they got rid of the 2 bags checked for free thing, which was literally the only thing that people were flying it for. So they're doing that as well. And that's it. So I agree with you, G Money. I used to be a huge Southwest fan, especially when I was flying back to the Northeast a lot more. But now I avoid Southwest Catholic. Who do you use? My wife tends to like American Airlines, so we use American Airlines. I don't think there's a good one. If we could try to agree that there's a good one out there, I don't know if we can. Well, when I say it won't exist, I mean it'll merge into another one and then cease to exist. within 5 years, it will have to merge with somebody, probably Spirit, because Spirit's taken over. It's going to be either like Nice Flying or Spirit Flying. That's it. There's going to be no option between the two. But the fact of the matter is, airline travel is just trash anyway. So I'm okay with it. I don't want to I don't want to promote, or I don't like the idea of these guys just pooling together, and then you're going to have, eventually it's going to be Amtrak. It's going to be Amtrak of the air. It's going to be American Airlines and like Delta. And if you know anything about Delta, it's don't ever leave the airport. That's what it stands for. And so I don't like the idea of these companies pooling together. I just don't. I think it stinks. It stinks. It stinks, and I don't like it. Anyway. So there you go. That's my deep analysis of said issues there. All right, ladies and gentlemen, moving on to our next story of the night. Interesting one from the offbeat type stories. And I don't know what the obsession is with trying to make AI even more. Oh, you're renaming it in honor of Fred Smith. Okay. Nice. Last time I went on a flight for Korean. Well, I mean, there's different levels too, right? If you do premium business or business economy, those are more spacious than crammed in the back with the steerage, which is just economy. Anybody that, even when I do it, I'm steerage when we all fly economy. So, because I just shove everybody together like a tune can and go that way. So, yeah, I get it. I mean, I had that experience with Delta. I'm not a huge fan of Delta. American Airlines actually helped me out really, really well. They were clutch. This time last year. I was up in New York at the Catholic Men's Conference. Shout out to the Catholic Land Movement. Check them out. And I was flying home, and Southwest canceled my flight because I wanted to be home at a certain time. I want to be home. I like to fly out early so I can get home by noon, 2:00, so I can get home. I don't like coming home late at night. I hate it. I don't like it. I don't like spending my day in an airport waiting to fly, or I don't like spending my day somewhere waiting to fly out. I just want to get on the plane and go. If I'm traveling home, I want to get on the plane and go. I don't want to wait. I want to get out of there. So I get at the airport at 5. They canceled my flight for whatever reason. And then they're like, yeah, we booked you on a 2 p.m. flight. And I was there. It was 5:30 in the morning at the airport. So I'm going, this is ridiculous. Looked on American Airlines, went down to the actual place. Lady took care of me. She put me in premium economy. It was actually really nice. So I like American Airlines. I don't think there's a good one. Out there. So you kind of just pick the one you like. It's kind of like car companies now. You pick the one you like the most and you deal with it. Because even Toyotas don't even last. So you just kind of find the one that stinks the least and get on with it. Speaking of getting on with it, here's our next story. I don't understand why people are so desperate to get robots to do stuff. We had enough dystopian movies talking about how bad humanity is going to mess up everything, yet we continue to do this. We continue to make these things a reality. And of course, it's the Chinese that are doing it. And so China hosted the first 3-on-3 autonomous football match, soccer, between teams of humanoid robots powered by artificial intelligence on Sunday. The robots used advanced visual sensors to identify the ball and navigate the field, though some still fell and had to be carried out. Yeah, it's all funny when they're goofy now. It's not going to be funny in 5 years when they can run and jump and move like the robots from iRobot. And then they're just, we're subservient to them because you had to make them play soccer. China is investing in AI-driven humanoid robot competitions like football as testing grounds to accelerate algorithms. Great. I'll tell you what, I'm super happy about that. I'm super happy that they're using soccer and other sporting events to increase the competitive edge of football. I hope you know that I don't. Anyway, so that's it for our warm-up acts. Let's get into our first story of... Yeah, everybody grew up with R2-D2 and Flight of the Navigator and all of these other robot companions that are, or even, let's go one step further if you want to talk about predictive programming. Tony Stark's AI, Jarvis. Everybody wants a Jarvis or something else like that. And so that all took place. And now it's like, no, you're going to get the Terminator, right? You're getting the Terminator because they're going to be used to enforce the arm of the government. They're not going to be there. The rich will have like the R2-D2s and all that other kind of stuff. You and I, we ain't getting the R2-D2s. And if we do, they're going to do your chores while you're locked up in your bed watching VR shows, eating bugs, just trying to keep your house from falling apart. I don't know why people are obsessed with advancing robot technology. I mean, I get it. We've talked about it on this show. They advance robot technology because populations are collapsing, and you either, import gross migrants from the third world, or you do humanoid robots. Well, there's no question. You do the humanoid robots and you take your chance. You're right. I'll take a quarter of Tony Stark's money. I'll take the money that Tony Stark blows on alcohol. I'll take any of that. But I get it. If you're going to replace your population with robots or immigrants, I would be more like, give me the robots and we'll figure it out from there. By the way, guys, if you have any tips or anything that you'd like to send me, story ideas, you can always send them to me at barrettbrief@gmail.com, barrettbrief@gmail.com. No, eventually you're going to have the things where they will be expected to have human rights, right? That will be the cause du jour for the left in about 25 years. Robots have rights. And once the first trans robot shows up, it's going to be over. Once they get the first trans robot, it'll be fine. So yeah, that's right. If you have any tips, buddy, send them my way. All right, ladies and gentlemen. First story of the night, boom. Well, that's probably not a great segue. So over the weekend, there was an incident where a gunman started an Idaho blaze and then used it as a trap to lure firefighters in for an ambush and attack. And so I got videos for you tonight. Let us take a look.
Following developments out of northern Idaho, where officials say a man deliberately set a wildfire to ambush first responders. Now, 2 firefighters were killed. Another was injured. This happened in the city of Coeur d'Alene. A suspect was later found dead. More than 300 law enforcement officers from the city, county, state, and even federal levels responded to the scene of the shooting.
They are reporting a brush fire going northeast. Some law enforcement right now, there's an active shooter zone. Everybody shot up here. Law enforcement, code 3 now up here. Another Coeur d'Alene firefighter down, needs help immediately. We need law enforcement immediately.
Okay, let's get to CBS News reporter Andres Gutierrez. Andres, what can you tell us about the latest developments on this?
Well, Mugu, since we last spoke about half an hour ago, we now have a name of the suspect, of the shooter in this case. According to the Associated Press, citing law enforcement officials, the shooter in this case is Wes Rowley. According to authorities, yesterday, this individual came to Canfield Mountain to set this fire to lure in the first responders. The firefighters just before 1:30 showed up here to Canfield Mountain. You could see heavily wooded, steep slopes out here. The fire continues to burn as of this morning. Just as they were on scene assessing the situation, trying to figure out how to put out this brush fire, they began taking on fire. This suspect, Rowley, ended up taking a sniper's position somewhere in this wooded area and began firing upon them about 20 minutes after they had shown up there on scene. It took them about a few hours later, around 3:26, they ended up using some cell phone data and found that there was a cell phone that had not been moved. They ended up exchanging some type of gunfire, according to authorities, with the suspect. They don't know if that gunfire ended up taking this guy's life or if he ended up taking his own life before they found the body around 7:20, because they ended up looking for that cell phone information. That cell phone had not moved from that location near where the shooting took place, and they sent a chopper up above and spotted the guy there with a rifle right next to him. Because the fire was moving in, they had to recover his body, of course, to do an autopsy on it, also to see if there's any electronics on him, to try and piece together a timeline as to why this all happened in the first place. So they hoisted his body up, took the rifle up, and he's obviously now at the morgue. They'd have a name. At this point, we've learned that it was a Coeur d'Alene firefighter as well as a Kootenai fire and rescue firefighter who lost their lives out here. A third firefighter with Coeur d'Alene was taken to the hospital, underwent surgery, is in stable condition, but he might still be fighting for his life as we speak. So hopefully he'll make it through. This community just heartbroken.
So real quick, obviously this is a terrible incident, and the way this will be, some people are trying to report that this is connected to some kind of Aryan Nazis type deal and all of these other kinds of things that they kind of try to shoot around and make all these other kinds of connections that don't really make sense. But I think the question is really, what is this from a Homeland Security standpoint? Well, this is obviously going to be labeled as some kind of domestic terrorism, because now you have another place where people will be afraid to go to. National park. This is a national park, right? This is not a state park. It's a national park. National parks you can't bring guns into. It's really that simple. Usually they're most likely going to ban them. And so the fact that people will be afraid, and obviously it worked really well because you had this person set this whole trap up to ensnare these firefighters and to cause terror for people and to cause terror to firefighters, because as they talk about, the fire's still going. Because we don't know, and the police don't know, and the FBI don't know, and nobody knows if anybody's still up there or if there is a second wave or any, and you can't really coordinate. You can't really coordinate that. Yeah. Most people shot down that rumor, but some nobody account said, "Oh, he was linked to the Aryan Nazis," and everybody went, "Nah, those things were not, they got shut down XYZ years ago." But that's kind of the misinformation that's been floating around. So obviously this is domestic terrorism. It's it'll be interesting to see if it's going to be described as a lone wolf attack or not. Because those are always, is it a park or is it classified as a park in any way, shape, or form? I know it's a mountain, but what's it designated? It's just called XYZ Mountain. That's interesting. Yeah, I just think, okay. The threat of a lone wolf is that, and usually they're not lone wolves. They're usually funded by something else. The myth of the lone wolf shooter is kind of a sweep away explanation. Oh, it was a lone wolf. Anything other kinds, other things. Blah blah blah. Also, this is a red state. It's a place. It's a red state. It's an isolated area. You know what it is? As we're seeing in the comments here from our resident Idahoan, if that's what you guys call yourselves, it's a rural place. It's a peaceful place. It's a calm place. Up until this weekend, most people would consider it to be a safe place. It may still be a safe place, but that illusion and the problem and the focus and the point is to shatter the illusions of safety. There may never be another incident like this again Oh, it's just called Canfield Mountain. Okay. Good to know. The idea is there probably will never be another incident like this again, but yet this is a thing that anti-gunners can point to. This is the thing that politicians can point to. This is the thing that everybody, even at Canfield Mountain it can happen, which is always an excuse for the police state to expand, which is never a good thing. And so that's going to be something that's going to be difficult to see. Of course, long term, there's going to be the impact in the community as far as how long will it be before you feel safe to go on those mountains again? Will there have to be a division of park rangers set up at this mountain now? Are you going to have some kind of visible security on this mountain? And so that's another reason why I don't want to say it's important, but it's a highlight that this happens in a county like that, because it gives anti-gunners and people who like to expand the security state the excuse of, well, if it can happen in this county, we got to have park rangers on the mountain. We got to have metal detectors on the way in, which is stupid because if you can hike it any different direction. So yeah, I'm glad you're here to say that, because you can at least attest what your community is. People like myself, people like this reporter, we don't know. We're only going off of what past is prologue on these kinds of things. I'm sure people will just say, hey, it was an incident that happened, and you just move on from it. We don't even know, is Wes Royley a native of these places, right? He was a 20-year-old, which is strange. Sheriff Robert Norris stated. He explained that Rowley contacted the arriving firefighters, and there was a discussion before the deadly shooting. He was found deceased at the scene. No manifesto has been found, but officials did find a flint starter. He set up the fire to lure these firefighters in. So we're trying to see. He lived in California, Arizona, and Idaho. May have been living in his vehicle. So he is not a native to the area. Also, isn't Mendez. I'm going to mess your name up, but we're going to go off of that. I lost my train of thought. I really can't get, people can't message me during the show because I have too much of an ADD brain. It's tough enough for me to watch the chat. But the idea is this guy was a drifter and obviously had no ties to the community. So what is he doing? Right? What is he doing in that regard? Why is he there in the first place? So he also may have been wanted to be a firefighter at some point, Norse explained, but he didn't elaborate further. So it's just a weird situation. A young guy, not from the area, not around. And so here's my question. How close is Spokane to this? I heard some people say Spokane, relationally is not too far away from this area, which people were thinking, well, if he's from Washington, if he's from a major city progressive area, then maybe there was some kind of plan to do this, to start this wildfire and do all these other kinds of things. Of course, we'll never know because he's now deceased. But in the end, it's a tragic situation that, a lot of firefighters, I'm pretty sure if we can get verification of that from our Idahoan, these firefighters are probably not paid. These are probably volunteer firefighters out there. Maybe, especially out in the West Coast, you have the hot shots, when they're dealing with forest fires. Probably not in Idaho because the hot shots deal with, California, Colorado, dry weather and so much like that. But most firefighters don't get paid. Most of them, especially in the rural areas, are volunteers. So It's a sad situation all around. And it's funny because this thing's probably going to get swept under the rug by the end of the week. Right? Especially since there's no manifesto. There's no real trail for them to follow because they already scrubbed the guy's social media because that's what happens. So 20 minutes from Post Falls, if from Spokane, that might make sense. I can't take credit for that. Anthony Brian Logan made that comment earlier when I was watching some coverage, and it may, because they don't know where he's been in California, he's been in Arizona, but those are just the places he knew. He could easily be somewhere else, and if he's not a resident of the area, if he's from a place like Spokane, then that might make sense to one of the reasons why, especially now with these liberal areas trying to create chaos in these senses, trying to create chaos, maybe trying to spark copycats at other parks across the union. Because that's been in the news too with the big, beautiful bill and the parks bill and all these other kinds of things. So it's just one more thing people have to worry about are lone actors trying to create chaos. And it's a sad thing to have to actually try to take into account. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into our next segment of the program here. The big, beautiful bill. There's a lot to get into, so I'm just going to let this dude from the Wall Street Journal give you a little bit of an idea.
Considering President Trump's one big beautiful bill, the legislation passed a key procedural hurdle late on Saturday night.
The yeas are 51, the nays are 49. The motion is agreed to.
It's a 940-page piece of tax and spending legislation that came out Friday, and now they're trying to go through this process of making some final changes, some final amendments. As the Senate, Republicans are trying to figure this out. They're dealing with the splits in their own group over things like Medicaid, clean energy tax credits, deficits, and in some cases on taxes. This bill helps business owners. This bill helps taxpayers broadly. About 2% of taxpayers would get a tax increase if the tax cuts expire. So this extends those and adds some new tax cuts on top of it. If you really care a lot about border security and national defense, there's lots of money here that they're funding.
The goals in this bill are a safer America, a stronger America, and a more prosperous America.
In terms of who gets hurt, people who are on Medicaid, there's new Medicaid work requirements. There's going to be limits on some funding. There's people who are concerned about rural hospitals and their funding, nutrition assistance programs, what we call SNAP, that also has some cuts in here. And then obviously clean energy as well. Like if you're in the wind and solar energy industry or manufacturing components or those kinds of things, those industries are really taking a hit from this legislation. When the bill is at this slim a majority, everybody is a key vote. You've got moderates like Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins who are concerned about the bill. You've got two Republicans, Rand Paul and Tom Tillis, who are opposed to the bill.
That is an admission that they know they aren't controlling the deficit. They know that the ensuing years will add trillions more. That doesn't sound at all conservative to me, and that's why I'm a no.
You've got conservative Republicans, Ron Johnson, Rick Scott, and Mike Lee, who are want deeper spending cuts. So they're trying to find the right mix of policies that can get 50 votes out of the 53 Republicans. You get Vice President Vance to come break the tie, and then it will pass. And so finding that balance has really taken them a while to do. The bill has not actually been passed at this point. So this procedural vote was basically the question of, should the Senate debate this bill? Once they debate the bill, then the Senate will consider amendments. This is a chance for Democrats who oppose this bill to put Republicans on record on a lot of the provisions of the legislation in particular.
If Republicans proceed and follow Donald Trump over the cliff, with this bill tied to their ankles like an anvil, they will not only doom their own communities, they will doom their political fortunes.
And it's a chance for Republicans, if there are blocks of Republicans who want to change things in the bill, this is their chance to do it. And then obviously this has to go back to the House, and there's no guarantee that the House just accepts this as is.
We're in a wait-and-see posture in the House right here, and we'll see what happens. So we're ready to act.
This bill absolutely can meet the deadline of July 4th. The Senate can finish it by sometime on Monday. The House members who've gone home for the weekend can come back and vote for it. There's plenty of time legislatively to do it. The question is whether there are votes. The important thing about the July 4th deadline is that it is not real in any sense. There's no, the tax cuts expire December 31st. The other thing this bill has is a $5 trillion increase in the debt limit. The U.S. doesn't really run out of capacity for borrowing until sometime in August. So there definitely is that time if they choose to use it.
Okay, so that's the best I could find as far as trying to like make this thing make sense now. I know we talked last week about the land grab. Here's some good news here. So over the weekend, Mike Lee said over the past several weeks, listening to members, blah, blah, blah. Because of the strict constraints of the budget reconciliation process, he was unable to secure clear enforceable safeguards to guarantee that the lands will be made solely only to American families, not to China, BlackRock. So he pulled it. So conservatives absolutely won a decisive victory, and liberals too. It was weird bedfellows, everybody teaming up to try and get that that whole thing just got absolutely blasted out of the water on that. So that was a victory. It's great. Very happy about that. Awesome. And so the big beautiful bill is nothing more than another omnibus bill. It's a trash bill. There was some hope for conservatives that we were going to possibly get this miracle or this unicorn thing where we were going to get the Hearing Protection Act and the Short Act through both the House and the Senate, and they were going to kind of sneak it into the bill. The Hearing Protection Act would have taken suppressors off the NFA. You would have still had to do a 4473, but that's it. You wouldn't have to register it. And the same thing with SBR, short-barreled rifles. Unfortunately.
Link down below, however, are the content creators that can actually give you play-by-play, minute-by-minute updates of what's going on. Okay, the reconciliation process, H.R. 1, starts in the House. The Hearing Protection Act, Sections 1 and 2, are added to it and makes it out of the House, which would have actually, at that point, zeroed the tax out, would not have removed it from the NFA, but zeroed the tax out on suppressors. Gets to the Senate. Once it gets to the Senate, however, the Senate adds not only Section 3 of the Hearing Protection Act, which was going to be huge if you lived in states that required registration of a suppressor in order to own it lawfully, but they also added the Short Act to it. So now all of a sudden you guys are all getting teased that you might get suppressors and short barrel rifles removed from the purview of the NFA. Okay, so all we have to do is get through what? That's right, the Byrd Rule. The Byrd Rule is just this parliamentary procedure in which we make sure that since we're talking about reconciliation, we are only talking about revenue or expenditures, which was why the Democrats continuously calling these regulations a tax was huge, because theoretically and presumably and logically, they had painted themselves into a corner. And how on God's green earth could the parliamentarian actually strike that from the bill, because we're clearly talking about a source of government revenue? Well, enter Senate parliamentarian Elizabeth McDonough, who, by the way, was appointed by Democratic Senator Harry Reid way back in 2012. And by the way, her Wikipedia page is very complimentary of her handling of President Trump's 2 separate impeachments. Now, can she, in fact, be fired? Yeah, she can be. She can be. Is it a bit of a nuclear option? Yes, it is. But has it been done before? Yes, it has. Go all the way back to 2001, when the parliamentarian Robert Dove was fired by then-ranking Senator Trent Lott. But hey, the Democrats have all called it a tax. It is a tax stamp. It was originally enforced by the IRS, so one would seem that it's pretty well within the act of reconciliation. But then, as a shock to no one, the parliamentarian then strips all of the great things that had been done in the Senate, which would have included complete NFA deregulation of suppressors and short barrel rifles. They still would have been governed under 4473s, but you would have not had to go through Form 1s or Form 4s, the enhanced background checks, and of course would have avoided the $200 tax stamp, and most importantly, would not have to have these items registered with the federal government.
That's the thing. That's the big deal. Now he goes on and on. He got stripped by the parliamentarians, shoved back over to the House, or no, what was reimposed was instead of a $200 tax, they dropped it to zero. And GOA and FPC and the NRA and all the influencers that were, this is a win, guys. I know it's not what we wanted, but it's a win. You don't have to pay the money. And every gun owner in unison responded back, it's not about the money, you dingbat. It's about the fact that there's a registry for suppressors, that there is a registry for SBRs. There should not be a registry for this. I don't care if it's a $500 tax. Fine. I'll pay the $500 tax. Just take it off the stupid registry. Deregularize, new word, SBRs and suppressors. Get rid of them. But no, because Republicans are feckless. Republicans are losers. They say, oh, no, don't worry, guys. It's a good first step. You mean like when the Democrats come in and they pass their omnibus bill in 4 years, they're not going to take it from a 0% tax to a $500 tax, to a $1,000 tax, to a $5,000 tax, because you just got rid of it and didn't get rid of anything else. You got rid of the tax. Guess what? The Democrats can come back and put, instead of it being 200, now it's 1,000. And this is the thing about the Republicans. They're just a bunch of friggin' losers. They're just a bunch of losers. They don't care. We talked about this in the warm-up. They don't want you armed. They're going to do everything they can to make sure you're not armed. And gun owners, who Trump always goes to the NRA, oh, they love me, I love the Second Amendment, blah, blah, blah. Lip service, blah, blah, blah. Nothing. Because now the Republicans have the House and the Senate and the presidency, and they can't do this because they're scared, because of a stupid parliamentarian, which, by the way, they can overrule, which I think he'll say.
Moving forward. But now that the parliamentarian has struck these provisions from House Resolution 1, the Reconciliation Act, what are the options? Well, option number one is that they can just fire the
By the way, the Republicans will do 0.0.0 on any of this.
Parliamentarian. Is that an option? Is that there? Yes, it is. She can be fired. She can be replaced. Now, most of the people inside the Beltway who seem to have kind of an understanding what's going on and who the players are do not believe that there is a high probability at all that that will occur, that the parliamentarian will be fired. It comes as a shock to me that when power changes in the United States Senate, that the first order of business, it would appear to me, would be to change the parliamentarian. I mean, to the winner goes the spoils. And so the fact that this parliamentarian has now been the parliamentarian for 13 years is kind of odd when you think about especially the partisan nature of what goes on in Washington, D.C. Can the parliamentarian be overridden? Yes, it can. But a lot of people think that it can only be overridden by a majority vote of the Senate. Au contraire, it actually works differently. It's done through a point of order, and then the only two individuals that can actually override the parliamentarian would be the vice president, who
which he won't do because he wants to be number 48, and he doesn't want that on his record. No matter what, he can pose with guns like he did. Oh, look at my AR. They all pose with guns. And then when they get in there, they forget about him.
To be the president of the Senate, that's J.D. Vance, and Senate President pro tempore Chuck Grassley. Has that occurred? Obviously, that has not occurred. And that is the option right now that I understand that.
And it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen because Republicans are feckless. They do, any little pushback and they fold. And they absolutely fold like a cheap suit as soon as those things happen. As soon as they try to sneak it in, it gets struck by an unelected Democrat, and then went, oh, well, we tried, guys. I'm sorry, we tried. And then they just move on. And don't expect JD. Everybody was tweeting at JD Vance, now's your moment. Yeah, JD Vance don't care about you. JD Thiel, as Steve Cunningham likes to call him, doesn't care about you. He is trying to set himself up to be POTUS 48. And if that means he's got to backstab every single, he'll come crawling back in 2028. Oh, well, guys, there was a parliamentary procedure and they haven't fired. He'll come up with some slick answer. And then your big gun influencers will be like, no, we need JD in there, guys. We need JD in there because what's the difference right now between a Democrat and a Republican controlled Congress for gun owners? Nothing. 0.0. Not a thing. You're getting nothing out of them. So, yeah, watching that whole thing go down through the weekend just was absolutely ridiculous to watch. As the parliamentarian just went roughshod over the entire bill. And they just sat back and went, okay, I'm sorry. We'll get it down, guys. You don't have to pay any kind of tax on it. You still have to register it. That's a loss, man. No, I don't want to register a suppressor. I shouldn't have to register. So the Europeans don't register. The Europeans hand out suppressors like they're Guinness. It's the one rule that the anti-gun lobby hates about the Europeans. The Europeans are all about suppressors because they understand you don't want to blow out your hearing. It's a literally, suppressors are a safety tool for people's hearings. But because everybody in Congress watched too many Bond movies, they think you can run around and they sound like mosquito farts. Peep, 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 peep. No, it doesn't sound like that. You ever been next to a gun when it goes off with a suppressor? It ain't like that. The only time it ever gets close to that is if you have a suppressed 22 with subsonic ammo. Maybe it's close. Maybe. But a suppressed 9? No. A suppressed AR, a suppressed shotgun? None of those things. None of them. Right? I call out conservatives and liberals anywhere, anytime, any topic. Because none of this nonsense matters to me. I am not MAGA, I am Catholic. So forget that. Forget them. They've failed you. They're gonna jack. Oh, by the way, everybody knows about remittance, right? Remittance. It's when foreigners come here and they send money back overseas. We were gonna try. The idea was that the Congress was going to up the remittance so that way it would be harder for people to send money back. You know what? It went from 3.5% to 1% in this bill. It went from 3.5% to 1%. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. They dropped the remittance. They dropped it. They made it easier. So it's disgusting to watch. Quote unquote conservatives. So check this out. U.S. slashes remittance tax for NRIs from 3.5 to 1. Non-resident Indians. Oh, you're very good now. We don't have to pay more than 1% on the remittance. We can send all our money back. You up the remittance and that keeps immigration down. No, your conservatives gave these people more incentive to come here because apparently they're the greatest. They can't keep their own damn country clean, by the way. Sorry, but if you ever looked at India, it is not an enchanted wonderland. It is a filthy third world country. Filthy. With a caste system that you don't even want to think about. So the fact of the matter is, it's gross and it's stupid. And it just makes me angry. And that's why there's this big beautiful bill. It's riddled with garbage like this. It's riddled with garbage like this throughout the entire thing. Remittance goes down for, non-resident Indians. So you can come on over, take advantage of the system, and send the money back with no penalty. In fact, it'd be cheaper for you. Gun owners, get out of here. Whatever. Oh, I think they even stripped the Planned Parenthood. Right? Let's see that. You really want to get mad? Because they were touting this out there. Let's see. What's the latest on that? Let's see here. Oh no, I guess they did vote the pro-abortion amendment. Oh, all right. Interesting. So I thought that was I guess it changed. I guess it changed from when I first read it. Rejects the pro-abortion amendment by 49-51 that would have funded it. Okay, fine. Give them a win on that one. I'll shut up on that. But there's a lot of other stuff, right? There's the fact that the spending goes out of control. There's all these other kinds of things. Oh, you don't need sorry, but India is a gross place. It is not safe for women. It is not a good place. I'm sorry. I really am. And my wife went when she was at TCU, there was a couple of Indians that were at the school with her. And you know what? I'll tell you this much. They were actually pretty decent. And you know why they were pretty decent people? Because they were Catholics. They were upstanding, awesome people to be involved with because they were all Catholics, which is why Catholicism built Western society. And outside of that, man, it is a gross, disgusting country. And the fact that we enable it for cheap labor is just so stupid. It's just so stupid. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. As you can tell, I hate it. All right. Before we get on to our next story, real quick, good friend of the program, Dean Oakes. He's still looking for some help with his car situation. He's got some issues with his travel van. He's handicapped, so he needs a special van. His van is not doing well. It needs some parts and repairs to it. He's also getting ready to go back into surgery, where he is going to be, he's going to have to cover some of the stuff out of pocket because insurance is being a bunch of jerks to him. So if you can, please help Dean. If you're interested in getting his GoFundMe, you can go to GoFundMe and type in Dean Oakes. Or you can email me, barrettbrief@gmail.com, send me a message on X or any of these other places, and I can give you a link to his information, and you can give him a hand. If you can, please, anything you can spare would help Dean absolutely in every way, shape, and form. All right, let's get to our next story. This one we're going to talk about real quick. So it's very interesting. YouTube is raising the live streaming minimum age to 16, which is kind of strange that it was below 16 to begin with. So YouTube is implementing a new global policy requiring users to be at least 16 years old, which I think it needs to be older, to live stream on the platform. The change specifically targets live broadcasting while maintaining other content creation features for younger users. I mean, it's a nice step in the right direction, but anybody under the age of 18 needs to be barred from content creation. This is a step in the right direction. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, if anybody uses it, any of these platforms need to stop allowing anybody under the age of 18 to live stream. I don't think they should be able to. I don't. Their brains are not, 18-year-olds, their brains are not fully developed yet. But whether it's a safety thing as far as child exploitation or the fact that, kids are going to be incentivized for usually doing dumb things. And this may be gross, and I'm sorry I got to say this, but young girls will be incentivized to, dance explicitly in ways that they should not be for perverted minds. And there was the case of the girl, Deanna, I don't remember her name. She was the number one influencer on TikTok because she danced around in yoga pants. She was 16, 17 years old. She was making like buku amounts of money. Top earners on I gotta talk 2018. And, this girl was making tons of money just to dance around provocatively. And it incentivizes young girls to do it, to actually, and that's why Charlie D'Amelio, that's her name. $17 million this girl got before she was 18. Before she was 18 on TikTok, she was making $17 million to dance provocatively in front of the camera. What is that? How is that incentivizing youth? How is that teaching young women to be value themselves for their qualities and not just because women lefties will always can talk about women with the male gaze and sexploitation, all this other kind of stuff, and then turn around and say, oh, well, hey, great. Yeah, you're making $17 million on TikTok doing that stuff. So that's not great. So yes, this is nice that it's going up to 16. It needs to go to 18. It needs to go higher simply because we need to disincentivize kids from being on these live streaming platforms. We do. We don't need them on there. What good does a 16-year-old girl, what is she going to bring you besides she's going to be provocative to disturbed men? And there's a lot of disturbed men out there. Young boys, what do? They do the prank stuff. And they do that kind of stuff, and that is how they get incentivized. Nobody's logging on to a 16-year-old kid, for their political opinion. So they incentivize doing other stupid things, and then they're like, I want to be a YouTuber my whole life. And then, if you can be like Tim Pool or be like any of these other guys, great. I haven't cracked the formula, but if you can crack it, do it, because, we need different voices there. But I think all of these, and I'm not a big government guy. I know you guys understand that. I am not. I don't like the government. I'm okay with the federal law saying you have to be 18 years minimum. You have to be an adult to be able to live stream or even content create. Sorry, I just don't agree with it. I don't think there's any purpose to it. I don't think there's any benefit to it. I just don't. I'm sorry. And if you think I'm wrong, you can comment in the comment section down below. But I absolutely think kids should be barred. They should be barred from it. So I'm talking about this one here. They're raising the rates. Like, what is it? I'm assuming this is a 16-year-old girl. What the hell are we doing? What is the incentive to tune in to watch a 16-year-old girl put on makeup for? Right? So this talks about shielding vulnerable young users from exploitation, inappropriate interact. You don't think a 16-year-old's going to have that too? You don't think that's going to happen too? This whole thing, the whole thing with technology is just gross, and the way it's being utilized on people is gross. And I just think that, I actually wouldn't mind 21. If you can, the age to drink. Yeah. 21. I could do 21. There needs to be, it can't be 16. Can't be, like, you can get on the X app at 13. Now they're doing this because they want to boost. And I know why YouTube does it. And I know why X does it. And I know why TikTok does it. I know why they all do it, because they want to boost the number of active users. If you cut that, then they're not as valuable if they don't have as many quote unquote active users. Is it a foolproof system? No, it is not a foolproof system, because people will find a way around it. Still, it needs to be done. We have laws against murder. Doesn't mean murder won't happen. Just because somebody may find a way around it doesn't mean you try to stop it. And it's just absolutely, it's gross that we're even here. We used to protect young men and young women, up until they were 18, 19, 20, ready to get married. Now we don't. We just toss them out to the world. All right, good luck. You're 16 and a half. You got a car. Bye. Do whatever you want. I don't care. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yay, it's up to 16. Needs to be higher. Needs to be higher. I'm sorry about that. It needs to be. There's no reason to have anybody under the age of 18 minimum live streaming or streaming period. All right. So obviously, yes, there's not a lot to talk about there, but I am passionate about it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to our last story of the night. Weekend box office. F1 crosses the checkered for first place finish. Now, if you'd like, you can go to RickCast Reviews. You can check out my review of F1. I gave it a strong recommend. I thought it was a very good film. I liked it so much, I'm probably going to take my wife to go see it next weekend, which is a pretty big deal because, my wife doesn't go see a lot of movies now. So the fact that she is going to will be a lot of fun. So let's take a look. Here is just real quick. You can check it out. That is the link to RickCast reviews. Subscribe, always helps. So it makes $127,599,788. These are estimates. Everybody's saying about 130, 150. F1, the movie shifted the box office into high gear. I hate the puns. With an excellent debut, delivering 55, opening domestically, which is right. It's on the high end. Remember, it was between 45 and 55. So it opened up right on the high end of the expectations. And so F1, 55 million, best earner on 361 screens. So 15,000 per screen average. That's your PSA. This is his best since World War Z's 111. I'm retarded. $111 million opening. So 25 million Friday, 17 million Saturday, 13 million Sunday. The premium large formats represented 55% of the business. What is a PLF? A PLF is a premium large screen, premium large format, IMAX, 4K, all those kinds of things. So those are valuable because those are more expensive. So, hold on a second. Let's see here. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So, PLFs, premium large formats, they make more money and they are valuable because they're only going to get this weekend, and then next, Wednesday, you start Jurassic Slop, which is going to come in. And then that will start all of that. And they're going to start fighting for the premium large formats. So critical reviews were decent at an 83. I gave it a recommend. Audience scores at 97 with an A cinema score. A is what you want because this movie could have legs. People will say, well, what about Jurassic World? If people want to go to the movies, if they don't want to see the 7th Jurassic World movie, and people are saying F1 has positive word of mouth, which it has, then that's what is going to help F1. That's what Top Gun Maverick made like 145 million in its opening weekend, but then it was just positive words of mouth over and over and over again. And this movie may actually steal business from Jurassic World because it's PG-13. It'll steal business from Jurassic World. It could steal business from Superman because none of those films have the hype or have the solid fan base. Every time they release a Superman clip on X or on Facebook, people are like, stop releasing Superman clips because the more you release it, the worse the film looks because all of the stuff is out of context. So Superman is stumbling because its marketing team is kind of dumb. Fantastic Four is stumbling because nobody likes Pedro Pascal. The film has leaked and it's essentially another girl boss movie. And Marvel it's facing its 3rd flop in a row. And Jurassic Slop, which everybody thought, hey, this movie's going to probably be the most solid because it always performs the most solidly. Not quite. Not quite. Simply because the reviews aren't good. And this is another female-led movie, which, by the way, Ballerina drops on digital tomorrow. That movie's already done. That movie's theatrical run is done at like 125. It needed to make 200 to make its money back. So, but it's already, there's different things about it. But Jurassic World has not a lot of hype going into it. Now, it could do fine because little kids love dinosaur movies. And that may be a lot of walk-up business for it. We could see that. But it's not the slam dunk that everybody thought. So F1 looks like it could definitely have a really good we could have a really good domestic run. It really could. So we'll see how it goes at that point. And as far as Box Office Mojo, F1 the movie is going to probably do better internationally. Internationally, he made almost 100 million. So that's where he's coming out at 146 million. Because F1 is a worldwide sport. So it will do well, and I think it will continue to do well in the international market, which will help out its long-term run. It'll probably top out at like 120, 125, maybe 130, maybe 150 here in the US. If it can do that overseas, then it should be fine. Now, a lot of people are talking about the budget of F1. And this film, its budget is about 300 million, right? It's about 300 million, which means it's going to need 600 million to break even. Now, you can subtract about 50 million from it because there were product placements and other things that were put in the film. So you subtract 50 million. So now you're down to 250, which means it would need to make 550 to 600. If it can make which I think 600 is doable for F1. I absolutely think 600 is a doable number for F1. I don't think it comes close to 800. The best performance for F1 is like 700 million. If it can make 700 million, that is an absolute win. An absolute win. And the box office desperately needs it, because I saw this dropped earlier today from Culture Crave. And this is just a sad state of Hollywood. If you take a look at this, I'm going to make this a little bit larger. When you take a look at this chart, you have 1 through 5. Only 5 films total have made over $400 million. And this Mission Impossible, that's a flop at 562. It needed to make close to 800 billion. It's about 300 million off. How to Train Your Dragon, that one's in its 3rd week. So that's looking okay at this point. Right? I mean, having a decent run, with what it's trying to do as far as making money the long term. Made 6 million this weekend. It's at a worldwide gross of 450. You know, does it have another 200 million in it? Probably. But that's only going to take it to 600. I mean, look at the drop off from 1st and 2nd to 3rd. It's a $400 million drop off between first place, 2nd place to 3rd. And then 3rd, it's a 100 million drop off, which that'll probably catch up and probably overtake it. And then Captain America, 5, 6, 7, and 8 should all get knocked out by the end of the summer, theoretically, with F1, Jurassic Slop, Fantastic Four, and Superman. Those are the 4 films that should knock those out. But even still, Lilo and Stitch will probably be the quote-unquote winner with 970, 980. I don't think it crosses $1 billion. They might keep it in the theater so it limps over $1 billion, but it's not what we all thought. We all thought it was going to come out strong and make $1 billion by this point, but it hasn't. It may limp to it by the end of the summer, and Disney may just keep it in theaters just to get that quote-unquote $1 billion film. $60 million away. I don't know if it has it in it. But I do think it's going to be the quote-unquote winner. Minecraft will be 2nd. Then it'll probably be, well, we'll see. It'll, 3 through 8 are up for grabs at this point, which is not great. This is a terrible summer movie season, guys. This is an absolutely disastrous summer season of films. And it was terrible. I didn't see it, but from all the guys at WDW Pro and all them, the fact that they changed the ending where Lilo's sister was like, I'm going to college, see ya, I'm going to leave you with somebody else, even though they talked about family for the entire film. And I saw the guys on like Midnight's Edge and all these other people try to defend it, being like, oh, it's a solid message. It's a good message. but the core audience that loved Lilo and Stitch, that's not the original message of the film. They stay together. But in this film, she just kicks her sister to the curb and goes off and does her own thing. And that people are like, no, I think that the fact that they changed the ending is the reason why you're getting a lot of what like Peter's saying here. They didn't like Lilo. They didn't like it because they changed the ending. And there were some other changes too here and there that, of course, I haven't seen it, but from, WDW and Midnight's Edge and all those other guys with their reporting on it, they were, some loved it, some weren't. I know WDW Pro was not a fan of Lilo and Stitch. He said that the ending's going to change. The ending's going to stop any momentum that film had, which I think he's going to turn out to be correct. So we'll see how that goes. But this is a terrible summer season. The fact that after this week, really after this week, F1's probably going to be in the top 3. F1 will probably be at number 6 after this weekend, because I think it's going to have a really strong second weekend. Well, Disney sucks. Sorry, I don't mean to be cussing, but Disney's trash, right? Disney is trash. Too much progressive social justice nonsense. And anybody who defends it is just, smooth brain, low intelligence moron. But yeah, there's your summer box office right there. Not a great look. F1 is providing some hope. I think F1 is going to have a very solid run through July. I think F1, what you're going to see, and we'll talk about, I'll say it right now, what you're going to see is the Sound of Freedom effect. And that was a couple years ago. Sound of Freedom came in and just cut the legs off of Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning, and cut the legs out of a bunch of other films because it got the hype and it just kept going. I think F1's going to have the same thing. This is the first time they've ever had an F1 movie. I know there was the movie Driven from 2001 with Stallone, but I think that was IndyCar. There was the movie Rush that came out a while back with the Rush movie, not Rush the band. Come on. This movie came out with Chris Hemsworth and a bunch of other people in 2013. That was F1, Formula One. So that's a 2013 film. And that's based on a true story. F1 is a made up film. So I guess you could say, Peter, they've made it twice. They've had 2 F1 films. They had one in 2013, and then they had this one in 2025. And then if you want to count the Indy, the movie Driven with Stallone, which is a product of its time. It's a 2001 film, and it's not great. I guess it's called the Kart FX Championship Series. Okay, so Driven, the 2001 film, was supposed to be F1, but they couldn't get the finances. They couldn't secure it. Bellator, what is legs to deliver? I think F1 has legs. I think F1 has a solid July. I do. It already opened up to 150, right? It's opened up to 150 worldwide. I think it holds around 40% this weekend because a solid word. Everybody's praising this film. Solid word of mouth. I think it actually will upset. I think F1 will upset Jurassic Slop. And I think it will upset. It's the best counter programming to the summer slop that's coming out from Jurassic World and Fantastic Four and Superman. People are looking for stuff else. And so I don't, but once again, what is deliver? If F1 delivers 700 million, that's an absolute win. If Jurassic World doesn't come in, Jurassic World's got to make at least 800 million to be even considered. Remember, all 3 of the terrible Jurassic World other ones, the first Jurassic World was okay, But the second Dominion and whatever the, no, what was it? Jurassic World 2, Jurassic World 3. They both made $1 billion. Now you could say that was because of Pratt, maybe. But no, see, F1 has the theaters to itself Friday, Saturday, Sunday this weekend. Jurassic Slop opens. Oh, actually, no, Jurassic Slop opens Wednesday. Sorry. Jurassic Slop opens Wednesday. So, well, okay, Fallen Kingdom and then Dominion. Thank you. So, Jurassic Park World Rebirth opens up Wednesday. I'll see that. I'll have a review for you Wednesday. And then I actually think F1 holds well. I actually think F1 holds really well. And I think it may upset Jurassic World. So F1, best case scenario, 750. Worst case scenario for Jurassic World is 800 million. Best case scenario for well, let me do best case for Jurassic World. Best case for Jurassic World is 950. I don't think it makes $1 billion, but if it comes into the 950, that's a miracle. Superman's 800. Fantastic Four, if they make 600 on that, that's a miracle. No, none of them. Not the cast from the three before, they're all gone. Pratt, Ron Howard's daughter, Bryce Dallas Howard, she's gone. None of them are coming back. Now you have Scarlett Johansson, who is the lead, and no other real recognizable names. So you have Scarlett Johansson and a bunch of other people in a female-led film, which everybody's worried after the performance of Ballerina. Ballerina didn't do great as a female-led film, and now people are worried like, oh, well, that means Jurassic World Rebirth, which is a female-led film, is also not going to do great either. So it's, yeah. Peter, let me just tell you this. For some reason, Jurassic World did a screening for critics, like influencers and stuff, like Culture Casino and those kinds of guys. They've seen it. The nickname they gave this film, this new Jurassic World film, it's supposed to be called Jurassic World Rebirth. They all started calling it Jurassic World Refund because it's so bad. That people are saying that this film is terrible. And I think it's going to do fine the first weekend. And I have a feeling it's going to drop like a rock after that. So your reaction there is the reaction most anybody who's not paid afterbirth. Oh, it's funny. Yeah. Well, I think Hollywood destroyed the idea of the girl boss. Men were never upset with girl bosses. If you see the Underworld films or the Resident Evil films, there's a couple other examples. There's tons of examples in the early 2000s. Salt, other, Wanted, of like tough action movie hero girls. Even the first Tomb Raider was, well received and did pretty well. The second was garbage. I'm talking about the Angelina Jolie movies. They were pretty well received. But then they got into this idea that the girl boss, and that how the girl boss acts and how she talks down and she's just perfect and all these other people are done with it. It had a 5-6 year run where they tried to make it a thing and it just didn't work. So anybody that did this, I think it's going to completely tank it. Well, Neo, you bring up a good point, and that's why I think F1's going to have some decent legs, because it's a solid. Is it Top Gun Maverick? No. Is it, in my opinion, probably the best film that's come out this summer? Yes, because it's an actual movie and not just, CGI images scrapped together. So we'll see how that goes. But this summer box office, everybody was looking for this 3-week run in July, Jurassic World, Refund, Superman, and the Fantastic Four. But even now, they're like, I think we're in trouble. I think we are in trouble. And they would be completely correct. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So that is going to be it for this episode of RickCast. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Like, subscribe, share. Yeah. Underworld, pretty decent. The first couple, then it kind of went off the railing. So that's kind of, everybody says Ripley and everybody says you know, the Ripley and Linda Hamilton's character. I can't believe Sarah Connor. I can't believe I forgot Sarah Connor. You had that one. You have some other ones too. Salt was not too bad. I actually didn't mind the ballerina movie that came out a couple weeks ago because I gave that a pretty decent review. Underworld, obviously, we've been talking about. Kill Bill, if you're into the Tarantino movies, I'm not, but that was a pretty solid one. Laura Croft, I've already mentioned. There's not too many. There's a pretty decent list of action ones. You even had, remember the Charlie's Angels reboot? It was campy and kind of trashy movies, but they were really well received because they knew what they were. I'm not saying they're cinematic masterpieces, and you can rip me up in the comment section for it, but they were well received. At least people enjoyed them because they knew what they were. They weren't trying to do anything too crazy outside the lines here. So you had that as well. Last thing to note of Friday is 4th of July. And do not worry, I will be streaming. I don't take days off, guys. I know other people take days off. We will be live on Friday, July 4th, 6 p.m. Central Time. So if you want to come hang out with me, you can. I will be more than happy to have you guys. I would love to have you guys come hang out with me on the 4th of July. So I will be here no matter what. So I hopefully will see you then. But outside of it, oh yeah, The Fifth Element. Who could forget The Fifth Element? That was a pretty decent movie too. But yes, I will be here Friday on the 4th of July, so I hope to see you then too. Thank you for hanging out with me here on RickCast. Please do me a favor, like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell on your way out. Help the algorithm, tell the algorithm you really like this show, and that's why you hit that like button. I will talk to you all tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. God bless, and until that day comes, you know what it is. Free Dexter Taylor. Wrong button. There we go.